Presenting on their visitor management system, Traction Guest will outline who they are, what they do, and a few product features relevant to the current environment. Their product provides security, safety, compliance, and a seamless, memorable visitor experience. Following the session, you'll be prompted to join the live Q&A.
Hello everybody, we are delighted to present Traction Guest to you all here today at IFSEC 2020. Very much looking forward to introducing our company and what we actually do, and of course the questions and answers session at the end. So as I say, we'll look to introduce Traction Guest, show you through a demo of the platform to understand the look and feel. Very much looking forward to telling you a little bit more about our new mobile application, Frontline. I'll lightly touch upon some of our customers, and then I'll display my contact information at the end, whereby we can agree some next steps. So who have we got speaking with you here today? My name is Declan Redmond. I'm an account manager based in Dublin, so in our EMEA headquarters. We also have Ryan Camby, who is a solutions engineer based in Vancouver, and Ryan will be taking us through a demo of the platform itself. So to give some background on the company itself, our mission is simple. We want to provide a safe, secure workplace for employees and visitors. And I guess thanks to the backing of Bessemer Venture Partners and Salesforce Ventures, we've been able to build the #1 enterprise visitor management platform on the market. Our support and success teams are there to drive adoption and, as the name would suggest, ensure our clients' continued success with our platform now, whether it be through fully configurable workflows, our dynamic registration portal, touchless check-in, to name but a few, but also to help our clients extend and scale the platform in the future and to take advantage of our REST API. Now, being headquartered in Canada, but with offices in the US and in Europe, we're very cognizant of data security, and where your data resides is completely up to yourself. At this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hand across to Ryan, who'll take us through a demo of the platform.
So for the purposes of this demo, I've broken it out into really two parts. The first part is I'm going to take you through the cycle of the visitor. So from when your employee has invited your visitors in, how that visitor receives an invite email, and then how that visitor can go through the registration process and actually check in when they arrive. And then once we've done that piece, we'll come back to this back end of Traction Guest to go through more of the administration features, so how you can customize the application from the console here. So to start things off, I've gone ahead and invited myself in as a visitor, and this can be done in a number of different ways. So you can do it directly through the console of inviting somebody here. It could be uploaded as a CSV file, or you can use our integrations with Google Calendar or Outlook Calendar. Or finally, there is also our REST API if you have something custom in mind that you want to be able to invite people from other systems. But once you have invited somebody, you're able to send them a customized email from Traction Guest. So these emails, they can be completely white labeled so that it doesn't say Traction Guest anywhere, including the sending email address can actually be changed to use your domain. But once a visitor has received this invite email, it can have all the information that you put in there yourself, but additionally, it can have a registration button. So this registration button, when I go ahead and click on it, it's going to open up what we call our dynamic registration portal. So this DRP allows you as the Traction Guest admin to configure the steps that the visitor is going to have to do before they come on site. So as I run through here, you can see we've added in some COVID screening questions. And what's really cool about these is if I was to answer these questions in a way that might indicate that I'm at risk, that can actually end the process right there. They can send me back a new email saying, hey, sorry, at this time, we're not going to be able to allow you into our facility. But for the purposes of this demo, I'm going to go down the path that lets me move forward. It can auto-populate information that was added by the employee when they invited this visitor in, but additionally, you can add any kind of custom question that you'd like to capture. We can make sure that the visitor is signing documents, whether that's one document or multiple. If it was a touch-sensitive device, it would actually ask me to use my finger to sign it. We can show off videos So maybe you have a policy around temperature taking, and you want to make sure that your visitors know what to expect when they arrive. You can have all that built into the product. And then again, we can actually branch out these processes so that depending on which path a visitor goes down by their choice selections here, there can actually be different next steps and requirements. And what's really important to note about this portal that we're going through right now is it is all browser-based. So in this, we can actually have a visitor go through it on their own computer or their own smart device without having to download any application or anything like that. But once the process is completed, this will then spit back a response message with a QR code, and it will also send me a follow-up email as well with the same QR code included. So that's what the visitor has to do before they arrive. But again, you as the Traction Guest admin will have full control over what steps they actually have to go through, and I'll show you that later when we get into the configuration of the experiences in the back end. So now I brought up my iPad kiosk. This kiosk is going to allow the visitor to check in through multiple different ways. So since I've gone through the registration process ahead of time and received that QR code, I can use this always on camera right here to scan my QR code so that I can complete a zero-touch sign-in. So let me just open up the email I received from completing that registration, and all I have to do is show that QR code to the iPad, and that's going to sign me in, print off the badge, send notifications to my host, sync my record to the guest book, and do any other automations you have the system set up to run. And that way, the visitor has completed their zero-touch sign-in. Additionally, that QR code can be configured so that the visitor can use it for sign out as well. That way they never need to touch the iPad. And in the case somebody does show up that was not invited, or if they were invited and they didn't go through that registration process ahead of time, this QR code that's on the right-hand side of the kiosk here, that's also going to allow somebody to scan that with their own smart device to open up that registration process directly on their phone. And that way they can go through everything and maintain that zero-touch sign-in process so that you don't have people needing to use the communal device in this new normal that we find ourselves in. But obviously, if somebody is not comfortable with going through that registration process on the browser, or they're just not comfortable with QR codes in general, we still can use the kiosk in a more traditional sense as well. So if I was to go ahead and tap on the sign in button, that's going to kick off our experience to check ourselves in directly from the kiosk. So again, in this case, I have some COVID screening questions here. And I'll show you that if I actually say yes to any of those questions, it can end the process right there. It's sending off notifications in the background for somebody to come and assist me. And then it's going to be able to reset back to the beginning and be ready for the next visitor as well. So I'll go through that process again, but this time I'm going to say no to all those questions, and now I can move forward. So what's really cool with these kinds of choice pages is we do get to create completely different paths depending on which choice the visitor selects. So in this case, if I say delivery, it might just ask the delivery driver who the package is for and have that be the last step in the process. But if I was to actually go down the visitor business path, then it can actually ask for details of who I am, the person that's interacting with the iPad. So in this case, I'll start typing in my information, and you'll see that if the system knows you, we have a feature called autocomplete that will fill in all the details known about this visitor so that they don't have to type in everything every time they arrive. Additionally, we have other automations like being able to remember previously taken photos, or skipping documents that were previously signed, or videos that were previously watched, etc. And you can really build out these experiences to have as many different paths as you require. So in this case, I'll choose the vendor path. It might present me with a document like an NDA that I need to sign. I'll just quickly go ahead and sign that. Perfect. And then I can move forward there. Additionally, like our host selection page, this can be configured to skip entirely if this person's been invited. In this case, I just have it set up to know who my host was when I was invited and auto-select them. But it can allow me to pull up different hosts as well and do that. So it's all configured by the Traction Guest admin, how those things will behave. But then once that process is done, again, it's going to sync everything up with our guest book, and then run any of those other automations that you have set up in the background to run. So those are a few different ways that somebody can actually check in when they arrive. Now let's move over to the back end. Now that we're back to the admin console of Traction Guest, you can right away see the sign-in records that we were able to create during that demonstration. So when I checked in through the kiosk, you can see all the details that I entered there, including like a copy of the document that I had signed. And from this guest book, we're able to filter the different locations, change the view of what the sign-in records look like, including having a roll call view of who's currently on site. And we're able to export this data as well. So you're able to actually run reports off of it, things like that. So you can actually action on the data that you collected. But from this console, there are many different things that we can do. I'm not going to be able to cover all of them today, but you can think of things like controlling the branding on the kiosk and areas like that, the style of the badges that print off, documents that need to be signed, emails that are sent from the system, watch lists, integrations, permissions for different users, tons of different things we can do within the application. But just to give you a little peek of one of my favorite parts is the experience editor. So from the experience editor, we're able to really build out the configurations for what the visitor needs to do for when they're registering and when they're actually checking in. So these editors, they're super easy to use. You can simply come in here and add different pages in the process. And you'll see that as you add pages in, it dynamically updates, and you can actually start to branch things out so you get these different flows. So really there's tons of different pages you can add in, whether that's asking for pictures, getting them to sign documents, custom questions, videos, scanning IDs, and triggering other kinds of automations and actions in the background. Really, it's up to you to decide what you want to have happen. But once you go ahead and save a experience here, you can jump over to our locations page to actually scale this out and deploy the changes that you made to different locations. So in this example, I'll come into the Vancouver location, and this will load up the configuration for all the different settings I could have, and I can come in here and simply choose that experience that I was just editing. So then now this would sync up to the iPads that are connected to this location so that they're able to have the newest configurations all set up and ready to go. Declan, I'll pass it back over to you.
It's worth noting at this point, we're delighted to say we have recently released our new mobile app, Frontline. So this is a very exciting development for us, as the app will make it possible to do such things as audit your guest book. Maybe you want to have a record or search for anyone that has signed in or out of any of your locations in any given time period for contact tracing reasons, as an example. What we can also do from here is run a roll call. So you'll be able to get a live view of anyone that has signed in to any of your locations. So in the case of an emergency or evacuation situation, we can mark our guests as accounted for and alert them accordingly. Now, not only can we invite guests from the app, but we can also sign them in. Now, that can be done manually. We can sign someone in, or if somebody has a QR code, we can allow them to scan the QR code through the app itself. If you have, let's say, capacity challenges in any of your locations, you can set a capacity and monitor it in real time through the app as well. Now, as our list of features throughout the app continues to rise, we will very soon be able to manage deliveries through the application also. Regarding some clients we're working with at the moment, it's a wide, varied mix of companies and industries, as you can see. One thing they all have in common is that they want a scalable platform that ensures perfect visitor experiences can be created, and it also makes guests and employees feel safe, welcome, and understood. I've displayed my contact details here, so if what you have seen is insightful, please do feel free to touch base and we can talk about how Traction Guest can meet your own company requirements. Thank you again very much, and I look forward to taking any questions.
There we go. So we have people joining us. Thank you very much indeed for joining. us this afternoon. My name is David McClelland, and you're here because we've been doing the IFSEC Tech Talks today. And here on the line from Dublin and Vancouver, no less, we have Declan and Ryan from Traction Guest. Gentlemen, thank you very much indeed for joining us today.
Thanks,
Happy to be
David.
here.
Pleasure.
Just while we have some of our attendees switching over from the video to where we are right now, let's start with a bit of a scene setter. And Declan in Dublin, I'll come to you first of all. Tell me about Traction Guest. Tell me a little bit about what it is that you're talking to visitors here today about enterprise visitor management.
Good question, David. So when you think about Traction Guest, we think about enterprise visitor management, but pretty much what we are is a platform where you can safely and securely invite visitors and employees back on site in a very good fashion that offers a seamless visitor experience. We've made a lot of enhancements to our platform throughout the last few months to kind of combat COVID and whatnot, and that could require touchless experience and the ability as well, obviously, to be able to audit who has come into your site at any given time. So yeah, a platform that makes people feel safe, understood, and welcome.
Yeah, let's go straight in with the COVID thing there. You mentioned it. Obviously, it's a big topic of conversation in and around workplaces and about workplaces as well. And we've had a question come in already. Do you think COVID will be a driver in pushing the use of mobile for visitor management systems, or even just for general access control?
I do, David, yes. And we're already seeing that. One of the enhancements we had made to our platform over the last few weeks and months has been the touchless experience. So we're finding that not only visitors themselves, but also companies that are offering the kind of visitor experience, they don't want visitors to have to touch hardware. So they want a touchless experience, and they want to enable their visitors coming in to any of their sites to be able to sign in on their own mobile phones, as opposed to touching the hardware at the lobby belonging to a company. So yes, I very much see that move. Hopefully, you know, confidence might come back in terms of having people touching hardware and different things like that. But COVID is definitely having an impact on that.
I should say, if you have any questions for Declan and Ryan, please do pop them on the screen. And if you see someone who's asked a better question than your own, ask your question anyway, but put a good old thumbs up in there so we can vote the questions up and down, because this is the Web 2.0 or Web 3.0. I've lost count these days. But yeah, let us know your questions and we'll ask them. We've had another one come in while I was chatting. Can I control the access level that my staff would have within the system? I don't know if that's one for you, Ryan.
Yeah, definitely. So we have a concept called permission bundles within the application. And so what this means is that you're able to set each user with a different permission setting. So those permissions can be tweaked on a very granular level, turning on and off every different feature. And then you can also set it up to have different visibility shared. So maybe user A can only see sign-ins and invites for location A, while a user B might have access to change up experiences and see locations A, B, and C. It's really up to the admin on how they want to set up those permissions.
And something I saw when I was looking at the video as well, this in terms of the end-to-end workflow, one of the things is invite links. And I can see something here. Can I create an invite link that can be shared, particularly because I'm not always certain who an individual contractor visiting my premises might be. So even if you don't know who it is, you know someone from, I don't know, burger alarm company, whatever it is coming in. Can I create a shareable link rather than sending it to a specific person?
Yeah, definitely. We actually are just releasing a new feature called appointments, which does exactly this, where you're able to set up a time period, sort of like a dedicated appointment for a given location, and that generates a unique link that you're able to share out however you need to share it, so that anybody accessing it will take them through the registration and sign up for that time slot.
Yeah, because as you rightly say, David, you know, the use case could be, you know, you have a contracting company coming into your premises, but you're not sure who the contractors are actually going to be.
Exactly.
Or perhaps, let's say, you know, again, getting back to COVID, maybe you're a shift manager inviting back a cohort of employees for a Friday shift or a Tuesday shift or whatever it might be. You don't want to send individual invites, so you want to create the invite, create a URL, and pass it on to those people to register.
Good stuff. Here's another one that's just come up on the screen, actually. We have several locations that require different sign-in workflows. Can I configure experiences by location?
Yeah, so I'll jump in on that. Ryan, feel free to add. I guess, you know, we have many varied clients with, and every client has their own requirements and whatnot. But I would say one thing that they all have in common is that a lot of our larger clients would have in common is that they have a lot of geographic locations.
Yeah.
They want to be able to control those locations from one platform, but they also want to have maybe different experiences per location. So to answer your question without going around the houses, yes, you can.
Thank you very much indeed. Another question. Okay, so big breath for this one. How do we offer support for visitors if they're confused with the way the system works, or if they've never used a QR code before? Is there a direct messaging application within the system for them to ask for help?
Yeah, so there's a few different ways we can go about this. Probably the most common way that we see it is our customers can actually configure the kiosk to have a simple like request assistance button that as soon as they tap on that, it just shoots off notifications to whoever is set up at that location to receive those notifications so that they can come and assist. We've actually tried to avoid a direct messaging piece directly within the application, mostly because we want to be able to free up that iPad for other visitors to use if somebody's not able to or is confused by the process at all. So that way somebody can request the help, step aside, other people can use it, and then once somebody comes to a system, they can come back together to the kiosk.
Super. Thank you very, very much indeed for your questions. Any more before we wrap up with Declan and Ryan? Please do let us have them in the Q&A panel. Tell me, guys, whereabouts do you find your systems, your technologies being used? Are there any particular sectors that you find yourself most commonly deployed?
I would say that, when we look at our customer list, and you would have seen it in the video and whatnot as well, there's a wide variety of industries. So really, to me, it comes back to what your requirements are. If your requirements are around, let's say, having tailored experiences depending on the type of visitor, so whether it be a contractor, a candidate, or whatnot, we can cater to that. Of course, in specific industries, you might have to adhere to certain government policy and whatnot. So if you need to adhere to that or to sign up to watch lists or anything like that, we can handle that as well. So I would say we're not pigeonholed by one particular industry. Now, Ryan, please do correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, you're definitely right that we find our customer base are really anybody that has additional compliance needs for their visitors, other than just like signing a piece of paper that they've arrived. So anything around like GDPR we can help with, or even like in the States, ITAR is a really big one for manufacturers. But really anytime you need to have any sort of advanced sign-in process, that's really where we shine.
Okay, we've had some more questions come in. Thank you. How easy is it to implement with other access control systems? Implement or integrate, I guess, is another verb we could use there.
Yeah, I can take that one. So we've actually partnered with Linnell OnGuard and Genetec and are exploring other partnerships as well, where once a visitor is signing in, you can actually provision temporary access through those access control systems, but without ever leaving the Traction guest book. So that way a receptionist or security guard is able to provide temporary access to their visitors as needed very easily with just a couple clicks.
Super duper. Listen, we are almost out of time. I'm just checking the questions here to see if we've covered them all off. We've talked about controlling the access level or permissions that staff have within the system. We've covered that one already. We talked a bit about COVID. I mean, just a final one from me, really, in terms of where do you see this bit of the industry moving next? You know, maybe we've touched on it with the growing use of mobile devices and a more self-service, but is there anything on the horizon that you see as, yeah, in 18 months' time, we're all going to be talking about this thing, and here's what we're doing to move towards that thing? Or do we still not necessarily have the crystal ball to gaze that far yet?
Yeah, I'd probably say it's going to really become not so much just about like the visitor check-in process, but it's going to be more about the entire life cycle of interacting with the visitor. So more around like as soon as somebody is invited to come in, having them be able to complete any steps they need to do ahead of time so that when they arrive, it's just seamless. They check, like they just arrive, check in, and then they have access throughout the building. And that data is also being synced back to like your CRM or other systems like that, so that you actually have the analytics of how like bringing visitors into your spaces affects your business, both on like return of investment on opportunities and things like that, but really just enhancing that entire life cycle of the visitor instead of just being a point solution. I think that's where the industry is going. Last
word from you on that as well, Declan.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and I guess something we're seeing here a lot is that we still, please God, we're all going to continue to have visitors and whatnot, but I am seeing definitely a trend towards having people registered as much as possible before they come on site. Yeah. Having people scan a QR code and make it that simple for them to come in and notify a host and different things like that. So I definitely feel that the visitor experience will continue to be improved, but I do feel by having people pre-register, you know, this COVID-19 thing, you know, around social distancing and reducing bottlenecks, I don't think this is going to leave us in the near term anyway. So it's very important that we can register people before they come on site.
Super stuff, gentlemen. Well, listen, we are out of time for now, but thank you both for joining us. Declan from Dublin and Ryan from Vancouver, both of you from Traction Guest. Thanks for joining us, and look forward to speaking to you again soon.
Thanks, David. Take care.
And cheers. Thank everyone else for watching for one of our tech talks. We'll be back again in a little under 5 minutes time with our final tech talk of the day, when we'll be hearing from Fireco. So tune in at 3:30 UK time, and then at 3:45 for the Q&A. But for now, take care everyone. Bye-bye.